Hi, I'm Robert Brunet, America's first Master Chef. I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and am employed as a software engineer for L3 Communications. It's a beautiful day in Colorado, and I'd like to welcome you to my home.
Hi, I'm Alex Brunet, and I'm your cameraman for today.
As you can see, we've got all the major appliances, everything we need to get going with our meals. We really enjoy our hanging pot area here. It just adds a lot of character to the kitchen and shows that there is a cook in the house. We've done the entire kitchen in a Tuscan style. That was my wife's choosing, and we put up a kind of a plaster on the walls to give it an old rustic feeling. This is our pantry here. You can see we've got it loaded up with lots of canned goods and snacks for the kids and everything that we need to get going for the evening's meals. The fridge is always stuffed to the top. Leftovers, we don't ever throw anything away, because if it was good enough to eat on Monday, it's going to be great on Tuesday. Here's our Lazy Susan. We keep it full of all the spices and seasonings that we need. I really like to get the big bottles of things from Sam's. It just keeps us well stocked on everything that we want for our meals. And of course, you can see here we've got lots of Cajun and Louisiana seafood seasonings here. Well, you've seen our pantry upstairs, but the real stash we keep in our basement in our dry goods closet. Take a look. For the first 10 years we were married, my wife and I lived in a much more modest home. As you can see from the view outside of our dining room, we've got a great view of the Cheyenne Mountain and the Cheyenne Mountain Range here in Colorado Springs. So now we have a space as big as all outdoors, or at least it feels that way, and we'd like to welcome you to our dining room. And we've had lots of fun parties in here and lots of guests, and we look forward to having you here sometime. You know, one of the good things about living in Louisiana is there's lots of different influences when it comes to cooking. One of them is something called Creole, and I'm not quite sure what its origins are, but I know that generally you don't make your food quite as spicy, and it generally, I believe, tends to be based on some sort of a tomato sauce or tomato-based sauce that you cook with. So tonight we're going to make something called Shrimp Creole. And we'll certainly use a tomato-based sauce, as well as lots of celery and a little bit of onion, and of course really big shrimp.
It's basically just peeling off the tail and then...
Yeah, those are already peeled, so we just need to pull the tails off. We use a lot of rice in Louisiana. In fact, so much they call it Cajun ice cream. So our dish is going to be no different tonight. We're going to go ahead and get our rice started first off. My wife's from Texas. She said she never ate so much rice until she married me. So one of the questions on the MasterChef application was about my favorite cooking utensil. Amazingly enough, it's just a little simple Chef's Collection steak knife, really. I don't even know that it's a chef's knife at all, but I keep it pretty handy because it cuts just about everything I need to cut, and it's real easy to work with. should do. So you've met my little assistant here. This is Alexander Robert. We didn't call him Robert Jr. because, as it turns out, my wife has quite enough Roberts in her life. Her father's name is Robert. Her uncle's name is Robert. Her grandfather's name is Robert. Her brother's name is Robert. And as it turned out, she married, well, you know, a Robert. So when it came time to name our son, we decided to give him his own identity, and we called him Alexander Robert. This is my son Nicholas. We generally see him coming and going. He's 17 years old, and he's got a lot of other places that are more important than being here. But it's nice to see him from time to time. Say hello, Nicholas.
Hey.
So you heard me say before that we like to call rice Cajun ice cream. And when I think of ice cream, I think of a scoop. So to present this meal, I'm going to go ahead and scoop out some ice cream to get us started. Next, we'll go ahead and ladle out the Creole seasoning with Creole sauce. Start again. Next, I'm going to go ahead and ladle out the Creole seasoning and sauce. Just like that. I'll put a little over the top of the rice just to give it some color. And next we want to dress it up with some shrimp. Now these were cooking in the sauce a little while ago. I just pulled them out so that we could do a little bit more of a presentation. And there's plenty in the pot. So as you probably know, when you open up a celery, you get these beautiful little miniature stalks in the middle. And I'll go ahead and use these to kind of add some color to our presentation. Add a little toast around the edges. This makes it look real nice, and you also want to use this to sop up that Creole sauce a little later on. And last but not least, we'll go ahead and top it off with just a little sprinkle of Tony Chachere's. Give it a little bit of a punch. And voila! Shrimp Creole. Bon appetit! Here you go, honey.
Thank you, honey. That looks great.
Okay, time for supper. Well, you'll notice on the table, no Louisiana kitchen is going to be complete without a little Louisiana hot sauce. But we also have Grandma Pearl's homemade hot sauce. She makes this with jalapenos she grows in her garden. And I don't know what the secret recipe is on it, but I tell you what, it makes everything taste like mother's love. So you've seen my shrimp Creole and how I presented it with my family. That's more suitable to dinner at the table, but if I were going to present something similar to this in a restaurant, I think I'd have another idea for it. Something along the lines of maybe a shrimp cocktail, or as I mentioned before, with the Cajun ice cream, something like a shrimp Creole float. Have a look.